Last week was President Trump's first international trip. Instead of his visits and looking at the effects on U.S.-Israel relations, everyone was focused on Melania relations.
They're biased, and they have likes and dislikes, and it's so obvious. And I think American people and everyone see it. It was their decision, and I have much more important things.
For years, Trevor Noah has built a reputation roasting world leaders and political heavyweights. But this time, the punchline didn't just land. It exploded in the most unexpected place imaginable, right inside the orbit of Melania, Trump. What started as a typical late-night jab suddenly shifted into something far more uncomfortable. One moment, it felt like harmless comedy. The next, the internet was replaying every line as if it contained a hidden code, because something about that moment felt revealing, a little awkward, and far too fascinating to ignore. So what exactly triggered the sudden Melania meltdown everyone is suddenly talking about?
About Jacob Zuma, but he knows how to handle his ladies. Yeah, he doesn't have any problems there. Donald Trump, walking around in public, his wife smacking his hand away. Pa!
It's terrible. He's not Hitler, and all of his supporters, they're standing behind him because they want to see country successful. And we see what kind of support he has.
Yeah. Right.
Why do you think he does this? He doesn't.
Before we dive deeper, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story takes a turn you probably didn't see coming. The moment Trevor Noah decided to bring Melania Trump into one of his late-night routines, something strange happened. What should have been just another quick comedy bit suddenly transformed into one of those rare moments where political satire stops feeling like harmless entertainment. Instead, it began to feel like someone had accidentally pulled back a curtain, revealing a much larger story hiding just beneath the surface.
Melania's just over it. And now I think she's starting to consistently realize that she can just, slam. She doesn't need to say anything to him, about him. She just says it about whatever he's speaking about. And then she just keeps it moving. And I like that the clarification there was that because she released a statement and then people were like, is Melania going against the president? And then released another statement that says, no, this has nothing to do with the president.
Within hours, clips from the segment were flooding social media feeds everywhere. Commentators, influencers, and political analysts began breaking down every line, every pause, every joke. And suddenly, Melania Trump, a figure who often appears determined to stay several steps removed from the daily chaos of politics, was pulled straight back into the center of the storm. The conversation grew louder with each passing hour.
Also, I would pay anything to know what he wrote inside that card that he definitely didn't actually get. We're like, roses are red, love is a mystery, I had a historic electoral college victory. Why did Trump say he called into Fox and Friends? Because it was Melania's birthday. Like, what does that mean? He's like, honey, I've got a great celebration planned for us today. I'm gonna talk to some TV people while sitting on the toilet. Like, oh, thank you, Donald. My life is a beautiful dream.
Also, I would pay anything to know what he actually wrote inside that birthday card he definitely didn't receive. Imagine something like, roses are red, love is a mystery, I just secured a historic electoral college victory. And then there's the question that started it all. Why did Donald Trump say he called into Fox and Friends for Melania's birthday? What kind of celebration is that? Like, honey, I've planned something really special for us today. I'm going to call into television while sitting on the toilet. And Melania's just standing there thinking, wow, Donald, my life is truly a beautiful dream.
An enormous amount of media attention had to do with Melania Trump, the First Lady, and some video. Was this an actual slap, or did she just pull her hand away? She pulled her hand away, but I didn't quite see the contact of a slap.
Wow. Leave it to Fox News not to recognize what rejection from a woman looks like. She slapped his hand away, which probably means she wants a promotion first.
The irony, of course, is that Melania Trump has spent years cultivating a public image built on quiet distance from political chaos. While her husband Donald Trump thrives on confrontation, media storms, and relentless public commentary, Melania has often seemed like someone calmly watching the spectacle from a distant balcony.
This has everything to do with LeBron and how good his school is. And I was like, really? That's all you're gonna say? That's all you're gonna... Because I was like, that is just a simple, that's a woman scorned in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever grown up in a house where like two adults are fighting, that's pretty much what it is. Like you'll be at dinner. I remember my aunt would do that to her husband. It's like everyone would be eating something, and then someone would go, like, one of my favorite lines was like, someone was dishing up some food, and then my uncle was like, no. He's like, don't put the gravy.
That distance has always fascinated observers because it raises one unavoidable question. How involved is she really in the political world surrounding her? Trevor Noah sensed that curiosity immediately. And like most comedians, when they stumble upon a mystery hiding in plain sight, he leaned straight into it. Suddenly, he began asking the kind of questions that initially sound like harmless jokes, until you realize they might not be entirely jokes after all. Noah's commentary focused on the unusual role Melania Trump has played throughout Donald Trump's political rise. While most First Ladies actively promote policy initiatives, campaigns, and national messaging, Melania has often appeared selectively, stepping into the spotlight for carefully chosen moments before quietly disappearing again. That pattern has created a strange aura around her, one comedians simply cannot resist. Because when a public figure reveals very little, speculation naturally rushes in to fill the silence. Trevor Noah understood this perfectly. His routine slowly began unpacking that mystery, blending humor with surprisingly sharp observations about how modern political figures construct and manage their public identities. What made Noah's approach especially interesting is that he didn't simply mock Melania's reserved persona. Instead, he treated the entire situation like a puzzle the public has been trying to solve for years. The real question wasn't just why Melania remains quiet so often, but what that silence might actually mean.
You know how embarrassing that was? Donald Trump was there, trying to hold Melania's hand. She just slapped it away. He tried to grab it, and then the second time, tried to grab it, and she just did like a little thing. And everyone was like, are they okay? Are they fighting? I was like, yeah, of course they're fighting. They're having a horrible time.
In a political environment where every sentence is dissected and every tweet becomes a headline, silence can sometimes echo louder than the loudest speech. Trevor Noah suggested that Melania Trump's distance from the chaos might actually be a carefully maintained strategy rather than a coincidence. That idea struck a nerve, because it challenged the popular assumption that Melania is merely a passive presence in the Trump political universe. For years, critics and supporters have debated the same question. Does she intentionally maintain distance, or does she simply avoid engaging with Washington's endless political battles? Noah turned that debate into a comedic storyline, imagining what the entire spectacle might look like from Melania's perspective, watching the drama unfold from the outside while still technically standing inside it. The humor worked because the situation itself contains a strange contradiction. On one hand, Melania Trump is one of the most recognizable public figures on the planet because of her role as former First Lady. On the other hand, she communicates far less than most people in similar positions. Trevor Noah leaned heavily into that contradiction, joking that Melania might be the only person in modern politics who has mastered the art of being incredibly famous while revealing almost nothing about what she truly thinks.
Now on the next leg of Trump's trip, which took him to the Vatican, Trump's hands really couldn't catch a break, because this time the First Lady gave him the old down low, too slow, which made me wonder, like, when you watch that, do you think maybe Melania is jealous? Maybe that's what this was about? Oh, now you want to hold hands, Donald? You sure you wouldn't rather be holding that orb? I remember when you used to touch me like the orb.
As the routine continued, the conversation expanded beyond Melania herself and into a broader commentary about political image management. Noah pointed out that modern politics often revolves around carefully engineered narratives, every appearance, speech, and interview designed to reinforce a specific message. In that world, Melania's silence almost feels like the opposite strategy. Instead of constantly reinforcing a narrative, she allows the mystery to grow. That mystery has fueled endless speculation about what she actually believes regarding the controversies surrounding Donald Trump's career. While many political spouses enthusiastically defend their partners in interviews, Melania's appearances have remained rare and tightly controlled. Trevor Noah joked that the situation sometimes feels like watching a movie where one of the main characters casually walks through a scene without ever explaining the plot. The audience laughed, but the observation carried a clear edge. Political silence can be interpreted in many ways, and comedians thrive on exploring those interpretations. Noah suggested that Melania's quiet presence occasionally creates the impression that she's watching the chaos with the same confusion as viewers sitting at home. Whether that perception is fair or not, it has become a powerful part of the narrative surrounding her public image.
That's what Melania's doing now. This is gently throwing the shade. I feel like this is all going to culminate, like it's the way LeBron and Trump are beefing. if we lived in the movies, it would culminate in like LeBron, like Trump would challenge LeBron to a basketball match. He'd just be like, okay, LeBron, me and you one-on-one. If I win, you quit basketball. If you win, I quit the presidency. And all of us are like, that's so dumb. That's crazy. LeBron versus Trump, LeBron. And then like Trump does have like some sinister plan. The Secret Service goes and like steals LeBron's mojo or something.
The discussion became even more intriguing when Noah began comparing Melania's approach to the behavior of other political spouses who have chosen dramatically different paths. Many first ladies have embraced active roles in public advocacy, launching major initiatives and speaking frequently about social issues. Melania did introduce her own initiative during her time in the White House, but her overall public presence remained noticeably restrained compared with many of her predecessors. That contrast made Noah's commentary resonate even more strongly because it highlighted just how unusual the situation truly is. In an era where political figures constantly compete for attention, Melania Trump's tendency to step away from the spotlight feels almost rebellious. Trevor Noah joked that in a world where everyone seems desperate to dominate the news cycle, Melania has somehow become fascinating simply by refusing to participate in it very often. Naturally, that kind of commentary did not remain quiet within the political ecosystem. Once the segment began circulating online, reactions poured in from every corner of the internet. Some viewers praised Noah's humorous exploration of Melania's mysterious persona. Others argued that the routine exaggerated her silence. The debate itself quickly became part of the spectacle, which is exactly what happens whenever comedy collides with politics.
I feel like after a couple of hours, the doctor told her she could go home, and Melania was like, no, I should stay. I should stay until you check everything out. I stay longer. I was like, okay, well, Miss First Lady, since we're keeping you longer, your husband is on his way to visit. Okay, pull the plug. We've tried everything. Pull the plug. It's like, you're not on life support. I don't care. Just try it. See what happens. What have you done with Melania, Donald? What have you...
That's all Melania is doing now, gently throwing a little shade. Sometimes it almost feels like the situation could escalate into something absurd, like the ongoing cultural clash between LeBron James and Donald Trump. If life worked like a movie, Trump might challenge LeBron to a one-on-one basketball game. All right, LeBron, he'd say, you and me. If I win, you quit basketball. If you win, I quit the presidency. Everyone watching would think it sounds ridiculous, until some ridiculous plot twist appears. Supporters of the Trump family pushed back against Noah's commentary, arguing that Melania's approach reflects dignity and restraint rather than detachment. They suggested her refusal to engage constantly in political controversies demonstrates an effort to preserve personal boundaries in an extremely politicized environment. Critics interpreted the same silence very differently, suggesting it can also function as a strategic shield, one that avoids difficult questions. Trevor Noah's segment thrived in the middle of that debate because comedy often works best when it highlights contradictions people are already arguing about. Another layer to the story involves the broader role of political satire in modern media. Late-night comedy has gradually evolved from simple entertainment into a powerful platform where comedians analyze political events in ways traditional news sometimes avoids. Trevor Noah built much of his career around that exact style, mixing humor with commentary that encourages viewers to rethink familiar narratives.
See the video of the hands to know that they're having a bad time. I've had a theory for a long time that Donald Trump and his wife are not in a happy relationship. And I don't want to start any rumors, but I've noticed this. You know, I've noticed it in their speeches. Every time Donald Trump or Melania speak, it seems like they're throwing shade at each other.
His decision to spotlight Melania Trump reflects a growing trend in political comedy where the focus expands beyond elected officials to include the figures orbiting around them. Political spouses, advisors, and public allies often become characters in the larger story of modern politics. Melania's reserved demeanor makes her especially intriguing in that context because audiences constantly wonder what might exist beneath that calm surface. As clips from Noah's routine continued spreading across the internet, media commentators began debating whether the segment revealed something deeper about the evolving relationship between politics and entertainment. At the same time, the reaction highlighted how delicate political satire has become in an era where audiences interpret every joke through their own ideological lens. For some viewers, Trevor Noah's routine felt like a clever attempt to explore a long-standing public mystery. For others, it crossed the line into criticism of a figure who rarely participates in political battles. The fact that both interpretations exist simultaneously reflects the complicated environment modern comedians must navigate.
I told you, Melania, me and the orb was a one-time thing. The orb means nothing to me, means nothing. I was barely hard. Normally, when Trump has a bad day, we know Trump watches Fox and Friends and yells at the TV. But today, he did the same thing, but we all got to listen in. And you could tell from the start that this was going to be special.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. President.
Well, good morning, and I picked a very, very special day because it's Melania.
What makes the entire episode especially fascinating is how it highlights the power of curiosity in shaping public narratives. Melania Trump's public image has always carried a certain ambiguity. Unlike many political figures who reveal their personalities through constant interviews and speeches, Melania has consistently maintained a controlled and distant presentation. That choice inevitably invites speculation, and speculation is the raw material that fuels both journalism and comedy. By exploring that dynamic, Trevor Noah reminded viewers that sometimes the most compelling political stories revolve around the questions that remain unanswered. The aftermath of the segment also revealed something about the unpredictable nature of modern media attention. In a news environment crowded with endless headlines, it can be difficult for any single moment to dominate the conversation. Yet occasionally, a single joke resonates so strongly that it slices through the noise. Noah's commentary about Melania did exactly that, proving that even a relatively quiet public figure can suddenly become the center of a very loud national discussion.
I steal his basketball shoes, and now he can't play. LeBron's like, I can't play without my shoes. And everyone's like, come on, LeBron, you can do it, you can. And then the day finally, it's like halftime, and LeBron is losing, and he's in the locker room by himself. And then like Melania walks in, and she's like, LeBron. And he's like, Melania. And she's like, what you need to understand is that it was never the shoes, LeBron. It was always you. You can do it. And then he comes out and he dunks on Trump.
In reality, Melania Trump has never completely disappeared from the public imagination. Her presence simply reemerges whenever someone shines a spotlight on the unusual role she occupies in American political life. Trevor Noah did exactly that, transforming a late-night comedy segment into a conversation that extended far beyond a television studio. Ultimately, the entire episode illustrates the strange relationship between silence and attention. Melania Trump's decision to remain largely reserved has not reduced public curiosity about her. If anything, it has intensified it. Trevor Noah recognized that dynamic and built an entire comedic narrative around the idea that sometimes the quietest person in a noisy political story becomes the most intriguing character of all. In that sense, Noah may have done more than deliver a joke. He reminded audiences that some of the most interesting political stories begin with a simple question, one that nobody has managed to answer. And that unanswered question continues to linger because Melania Trump has always existed in a space that feels slightly outside the usual rules of political visibility.